Welcome. Okay, now here I am. Welcome to another episode of Xa Talk Show Impromptu Xa Talk Show Extempore. Today we're gonna talk about a specific topic, which is the scourge of HTML, XML entities. Now, this is very interesting topic. It's related to writing systems, human animal writing systems, and human animal writing systems and HTML, XML technology and Unicode and symbols, symbology, the meaning of symbols. So here are the entities. Let me explain what is entities. Entities is okay. Let me explain. So you have these characters, right? These are ASCII A B C D E F G O. These symbols. Now before, in the 1990s, you cannot type these symbols directly because Unicode is not popular yet. So instead, you have these so-called entities. So in order to type this character, for example, the inverted exclamation mark, you can in a HTML file. For example, this is my HTML file. So let's say you type this. Okay, so IEXCL. So you type a ampersand. Let me magnify. Ampersand. Then that. Okay, like this. Okay, and you show in browser. You can see here. You see this line. That's the exclamation. Inverted exclamation. Okay, so yes, I'm explaining entities. So entities allows you to type a character without actually typing the character. You type a kind of a coded string to represent the character. So in the night, HTML entities, you have this bunch of entities. And today I saw this post by this guy, very interesting guy. You should follow him. Okay, this guy Fredrick Brennan. He is the his story is amazing. Okay, look him up. Look him up. Looking up on Wikipedia, you'll see an article about him, and also look up a photo of him. He's got brittle bone disease. So he sits on a wheel. He was born like that. So he sits on a wheelchair. He's a disabled person, but uh, this guy is incredible. Because he's disabled, so he focused on programming and computer stuff, and he became a great programmer. And he started the 8chan chat, and that became on the news this month, last month. But he stopped. He quit 8chan in 2016. So anyway, look up this guy Fredrick Brennan on Wikipedia and elsewhere. Look up his photo. Okay, so this guy says this. The fact that there's not a named HTML5 character entity for every character is a tragedy. Wouldn't you agree, Sali? No, I don't agree. Okay, but anyway, then he says, here's an interesting example he gave. Like seriously, this contour integral, you have the math symbol contour integral. It has a named entity, but the right pointing index finger hand logo, a common typographical symbol, at least before widespread use of word processors, does not have a entity. So that is true. Okay, that hand, that pointing. Let me show you, since we are doing a talk show and Unicode. So Xali Unicode. So go to my Unicode page, And I'm going to show you these hand symbols. So go to Unicode characters and go to hands. Okay, so you can see all these, many of them hands emoji, many of them are emoji, but some of them are not. You see, so this right pointing index finger, and there are several versions. In the beginning there are only like four of them. I forgot which one. On different operating systems, Mac OS or Windows, the hand shows differently. But anyway, one of them is extremely popular before computer age. That is this one, either that one or that one. Basically, a right pointing or left or right pointing index finger that is used to refer to like C, like a reference mark like C, then a footnote or something, C this article, with a finger pointing to that. So anyway, that symbol is why it was very popular. Uh, because for a time being, I was planning to use a Unicode in place of C something something, a link, in place of C something, because in my articles, for example, JavaScript reference, lots of places you have C, this link, C, that link, some technical stuff of JavaScript, like objects, what is object, what is property, what is, the type of a property key. So I have lots of C, link. So I was hoping, to find a Unicode replacement instead of the word C. So I was using this character. So actually, let me show you about that article. Sorry, Unicode EG. So I have a few articles of that nature about how to use Unicode. For example, let's see this one: symbol, semantics, design, Unicode for E.G. So this article discussed, at one time I was trying to find a Unicode symbol to represent the Latin E.G., which is for example, which means for example. Uh, and uh, so that article discussed about that. But then, yeah, this is the article where I try to find a replacement either for the E.G. or C something. Uh, you know, so these are, I searched all the Unicode symbols, and and I also must check the history of their usage, because when you are doing something like this, replacing all common, not English word, some kind, common uh, word or phrase by a symbol, that such as that, you want it to be, compatible with history. I mean, in a sense, it's a new invention, but you want to have good reasons for it, if you choose a symbol. But why do I want to replace E.G.? Because that is Latin for exempli gratia. I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically, EG means for example, or to wit. So it is not a intuitive word. It's a word that's used in academia often. By the way, there's also another similar abbreviation, I.E. IE. Now, IE means IE means that is. If you want to translate to English, IE means that is. EG means for example. So they are slightly different. And these abbreviations, this EG and IE, are used in academia often. At least in the 1990s or before. They are very popular in academia publications, writings. But they are not really good because they are, first of all, they are not English words. It's a more advanced acquired learning. So rather, you can simply say whenever there's a eg, you can just say for example. When there is a ie, you can just say that is, and there's a lot alternatives way to express the same idea. So but why do I want to replace E.G by Unicode? Why can't I just say, for example? Well, because for example, that's kind of a long word. The word is like too long, and then when I write technical articles, you have lots of EG, so lots of places you have, for example, for example, for example. It's kind of too long, and it clutters the page, clutters the writing. So I want to use a symbol instead. When you have a symbol, such as, for example, this arrow key, or for example, at one point I was using the pointing finger. I don't know, I don't remember if it's this article or I have written another article. Yeah, at one point I was using the pointing finger symbol, but I don't remember if I mentioned here or if it is another article. Uh, Symbol, syntax, semantics, design, use of Unicode, ellipsis, symbol versus dot dot dot. Okay, problem of congestion, semantic symbols, examples, Unicode symbol usage. Okay, let's look at that. So all these articles are all related about the usage of symbols and the problems of not using them properly. For example, when in unit in you have, for example, you have the backslash escape characters. That's very annoying and error prone. Oh yeah, okay. So here is the page where I talk about the use of the index finger there. Okay, it's this one. So you see, these are about symbol usage. So if I replace EG by some symbol such as an arrow, then arrow is kind of universal. I mean, you don't really actually need to know to read the word. For example, people understand. It's an example. With the arrow. Arrow is kind of universal. Uh, so that is why I decided to do that. But eventually, after several years of experiment, I went back just to say sometimes eg, sometimes for example, instead of a symbol, because symbol, when you use symbol in a contrary manner, I mean in a fashion that is not widely used, you introduce lots of other problems. For example, search engine will get confused about your use of symbol, even though it's obvious to humans. But that's one of the problem with AI, because AI, on one hand, they are very efficient. Google search, for example, they process massive amount of info. But however, the AI, at least today, they don't really actually understand text. So you know so in my example here, if my pages use the arrow, human may understand it better than e.eg, e.g. But machines don't know what the heck, because that's not a popular usage. The machine then will, you see, there's a difference. uh, this is an illustration of AI technology, massive use of AI in today's society. It influences what otherwise the decisions and behaviors of humans. Because if without AI, then I would have gone ahead and used one of the, obvious symbols for my page. But then search engine will get confused. Therefore, I cannot use it, because if search engine do not find my website, I get this pop. less readers, and that's no good. So it changes influences my decision. So I decided, after a few years of experiment, I decided not to use uh, the Unicode fancy Unicode symbols for to replace the word eg. But this decision is influenced by the stupid search engine technology. And that's just not it's not just me. It's influencing massive amount of people. So that is a problem. So humans, we human animals, our behavior becomes, in a sense, we become slaves of technology. This is one example, one small example, but there are a lot. There are tons of examples I can talk about. For example, file name. It used to be in the 1990s, file name space is represented by an underscore, low line character, file name. That's the most popular. But because of Google search engine, kind of by a mistake, uh, then the dash becomes more popular, because everyone wanted to follow Google's search engine suggestions. So everyone started to use the dash instead of underscore. So that's another example of this AI, machine, um, that's changing human behavior, for not for the better, for worse, for kind of worse. These are just two small examples, but yeah, there's uh, to illustrate there's actually big problems. But anyway, I digressed a lot. So I was talking about my use of Unicode symbols. So I was talking about, so there's several topics we talked about. The use of the symbol, index finger. It was very popular, and my use of it to replace eg and ie words, uh, uh, and Google search engine as AI, and as an example that influences human behavior for the worse. So that's so far we've talked about, but I digressed. Let's get back to the topic of this guy. So this guy, Fredrick Brennan, so he mentioned, so you have this contour integral sign as an entity, but you don't have the index finger sign as an entity. That's kind of strange. And I learned two things from these. Then there's a lot more. I'm going to talk about the whole HTML, XML entity scourge, crap. So I learned two things from this his post. So he's a very interesting guy. Interesting guy. So one example is that when interesting person posts something, you learn something new, not the old hacker news fuck. Every programmer, white programmers, they're telling you what to do. So anyway, he posts this, and so the first thing I learned is that, oh, there is a contour integral named entity. I did not know that, because I wrote this page, which is a complete list of HTML, XML entities based on the W3C standard organization. They published article. So I did not know that now there is a name entity for contoured integral. So I searched, uh, you know, uh, let's search for HTML entities. So you go to Wikipedia. I check these every, you know, pages like this every few years. So I didn't notice. So you look at Wikipedia, and indeed, you have all these new entities I wasn't aware before. For example, we scroll down, there are like thousands of them. Scroll down, yeah, all these are new. This frown, S frown, And oh, these are new entities. So I didn't know that. So I looked about, and you can actually. So I read it. You can see that they say in HTML5, HTML5 adopted the XML entities as named character references. However, it restates them without references. Blah blah blah. The HTML5 specification additionally provides mappings from the names to Unicode. So anyway, the gist is that I think that okay, I don't know who created this the first time, but anyway, the gist is that it seems in HTML5 we have a ton more entities. So here is a list. Like there are probably over 1,000 entities, new entities, including lots of math symbols. So let's go to math symbols. Math. So let's search for integral. INTEGR. You see, so in Unicode you have all these integral signs. So this is okay with one circle. Integral sign with one circle is contour integral. Two circles is surface integral. Okay. three three integral sign is a volume integral. That's from multivariable calculus. Now I cannot define. I cannot tell you what they are. I forgot, but but anyway, so I learned. Yeah. So there's now there's a bunch of new named entities. I also learned apparently you have this tool called UTF-8 to ENT. So basically, I suppose that allows you to type any Unicode character, and it will tell you the named entity code for it, or the the hexadecimal for the code point in the HTML syntax. You can use either one of these. So entities, entities, HTML entities is such that. Okay, let me explain. So, okay, first of all, let me summarize. So I learned two things. Now we have a bunch of new entities, and also there's this UTF-8 to ENT command line. So let me see if it's in Mac. UTF-8 to ENT. Okay, there's no such command, but however, let's search it. Maybe we'll find it. UTF-8 to ENT. Oh, okay. So it looks like it might be a tool he created himself. This guy, Fredrick Brennan. Yeah, so it possibly it's a tool he wrote himself, because otherwise usually if you search it, if it's a commonly used tool it should show up, but it's not here. Yeah, so maybe he created himself. Very interesting. So okay, so two things, new entities. Okay, now there's a lot of interesting things going on. I'm gonna talk about them one by one, but let me finish here. So first of all, I told him, I didn't know that. That's interesting. There's a new named entities. So as far as his question, he asked me a question. The fact that there's not a named HTML5 characters entity for every character is a tragedy. Wouldn't you agree? So he asked me, do I agree? I don't agree, because I think my opinion on this is that entities should be banned altogether. You should have not have that in the first place. In the 1990s, before the Unicode, you know, yeah, you can have, you created entities. That's good, because back then there's no way. Um, it would be, without entities it would be hard. Entities is quite useful back then, but not today. I don't think it creates confusion, and but particularly when you have entities that function as a escape, such as, ampersand amp semicolon, for the that's the named entity for the ampersand sign. Okay, and ampersand lt semicolon, that's the entity for the less than sign, and you have also the entity gt for the greater than sign. Now these three entities, they function as a sort of escape character, because in your HTML, if you need to type these characters, these characters are used by HTML itself. So when you want to use these characters, you have to escape them. So that is the purpose. They function as escape characters. Um, but that's not a good solution, because a good solution is that you should have you should have a infinitely variable delimiters instead of escape characters. um, it creates a huge amount of problems. I talked about in here in this article. You can see at the bottom. Let me show you some example here. Problems of symbol congestion in computer languages, ASCII jam versus Unicode. So here's an article that talks about this in detail. Uh, you know, this is a related article. The article, the point I'm talking about, how escape characters are harmful, is another article. So let me find it actually, so you can read it offline. So just search Xa Li string syntax. Okay, this article, computer language design string syntax. Now, you know how in programming languages you have strings, but sometimes you need to escape them. Like if you use double quote for a string, but if your text contain double quote, then you need to have a backslash double quote to like escape it. Then you also have, so HTML entities is also a form of escape. Uh, but then in different computer languages, you have alternative string delimiters. For example, in Python, you can use triple quote. That way, you don't have to escape, stuff in your text. And this is extremely convenient. And in a similar way, you have that in Perl and in PHP. You also have that in a restricted form in Golang. Uh, but you don't have that in Emacs Lisp. So Emacs Lisp is pretty bad here. So anyway, this is a problem about string syntax. That's why you need escape. Escape characters are often a pain in the ass to deal with, because normally without escape, all you have to do when you try to parse the text is you just search the delimiters. When you find the end delimiters and the beginning delimiter, then whatever in between is the text. But if you have escape characters, that complicated the whole thing by a lot, because then you then in the text you have to search, which one characters are escape. You have to process the text, and this becomes more complex, very pronounced when you have, for example, if you are coding in a programming language, you have to call a shell command. You have to translate the escape into the shell's escape. Then the shell command, you know, uses the regular expression. You see, you probably have experience with this. This is an extreme headache. In fact, it's a problem that is not practically solvable. For example, if I'm programming Python and I'm using a regex, I'm using a regular expression to find another regular expression, but however, I need to call this. I need to pass this code into, let's say, shell bash. So when you have regex to search another regex string, the escape becomes extremely impossible to read. Then you have to translate it to bash, because bash has its own escape quotes stuff. You know, so in practice, this is a real problem. We see it every day. It cannot be done. I learned a great technique from this David guy. One solution to solve this problem is that you encode the whole text into, let's say, into some hex string format, hex string. Like pure ASCII hex string. Then at the destination bash or something, you decode it, back to the string. So you don't have any of these escapes anymore. It's just, without, there's no uh, backslash or stuff. So basically, to capture this whole problem, the problem with the string syntax with escapes is that when you have escape, nested string, especially from different languages, Bash to Python to Shell to, to HTML, when you, especially when they are nested, it becomes practically impossible to convert or parse them. So that is the problem with the escape. Now, if so, what is the solution? Well, one way is to use delimiters, variable that, like, different delimiters, like triple quote, because from Python is an example. Now, but what if your string contains triple quote? Well, in that case, you use triple single quote or triple double quote. Now, what if your string contains triple single quote or triple double quote? Then you could use some other, delimiters. The point is, the solution is basically you want infinite possibilities of the delimiters. So you want to make the delimiters consistent in some regular way that's easy to identify. Once you have that, you have, all sort of delimiters, which is, by probability, it's not likely ever to appear in string. The chances of finding such a delimiter in a string would be less than, you got struck by a lightning. So one such example is here doc. Let's say Xali Perl here doc. Now this is the traditional jargon for this thing. For example, here doc. So this is PHP here doc. Here doc is basically a way to quote long text. So here's the example. I have a long text, and you can use triple less than sign, then followed by a random string. That random string will be your delimiter. So this way, this is one example. This way is a solution to quote any long text without having to deal with escape sequences. So if you have these, so here doc is one of the implementation of the idea of infinite variable string delimiters. Okay, uh, that's not the only idea, by the way. So once you have the infinite variable delimiters, then you don't have this problem of translating, you know, uh, of 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 sending text from one programming language to another programming language, because you know whatever is text is just text. You just pass it through different programming languages or protocols or network. No problem. No problem. You don't have to deal with escapes. So yeah, escape is a very bad thing in programming languages. You should avoid that. Now, okay, it's actually more complex than that. Some escape is actually may be good. For example, the new line escape that serves a different. You see, we are getting into details here. The new line escape, like \n, that stands for new line. That is not the functionality of that escape is like an entity. It's not. You see, it has nothing to do. You see, that new line character is not a quote delimiter. So you see, it has a different purpose. So in other words, if we look at all the escape characters or sequences, some of them serve the purpose of replacing some characters by a code. And why do we want to do that? Because, for example, the new line character is invisible character. Sometimes you don't want invisible characters. You want to represent invisible characters by a visible one, such as tab or control sequences, in ASCII. So that's one purpose. But another purpose of escape characters is when you have a character that is the same character as your string delimiter. So we are talking about this case. In this case, we don't want these escape characters. We want um, infinitely variable delimiters. So anyway, that is a case about that. Yeah, we actually talked a lot about this. Okay, so let me get back to the these guys. So that's my answer to this guy's question. He's asking me a question, not really. He's just this is just a common way of introducing a topic. So my opinion is that no, I don't think. I think entities should be banned. At least the entities that function as escape for the string delimiters. Those types should be banned at least. We should not use those. So anyway, that finishes that topic about why I think it should be banned. Now let's talk about the entities itself, which is why I'm doing a talk show today. The entities. Let me check if I'm still talking correctly, and let's check how many people are watching. One people. That's strange. For the past few days, it's always one people. I'm wondering if Google is, not showing me my stuff. So anyway, so let's go back to entities. Yeah, so entities. So there is these. I'm telling you, I found a mistake in this spec. So we go to the HTML5 spec of entities. So you see this long list, okay? You see this long list. Then, okay, scroll all the way down. Shit. Then it says the data is also available as a JSON file. So I look up, open the JSON file. So you see this big file. So let's copy it. Copy. Go to Emacs. Create a new file. Paste. Okay. Save. XX entity JSON. Let's put today's date. Okay. Hold on a second. Let's name it JavaScript. Okay. So so there are how many are there? There are 2,230 of them. And let's search for LT semicolon. You see, so you can see there are several of them. However, you do not find one that just says oh, you find it here. LT. No, wait. There's a problem here. You see, so LT, this should be less than psi. But you see this one, LT, it doesn't have a semicolon. That's odd. So I think that's an error, right? Because entities must always end in a semicolon. So this one is odd. And then they have the capital letter case, which is I'm not sure what is the deal with the capital letter case. And then you have the mixed lowercase and capital case. This is strange. So if you look at these 5 lines, let's copy it. Go over here and paste. You can see that they let's magnify. So the first 4 is all, the code point is 60. Okay, but the last one is 88110. Now what character is that? With the missed case, capital L and lowercase t. So this is all very strange. It's strange in 2 possible ways. One, one is that maybe the spec is incorrect. They got an error, typographical error, some sort of error here. The second way it's strange is because we have this mix. You see, we have the capital case LT. Then we have the capital case L and lowercase t. What does that mean? And it points to this character 88110. So let's find out which Unicode character is this 88110. So 8, I got Unicode search here, 8810. Yeah. Oh, so 880 is this character. This one, double less equal sign. Oh, it says, okay, the Unicode name is much less than. Okay, so that is very strange, actually, much less than. So let's try create a HTML file. Save xx.html. Okay, then let's say title h1. Okay, showing browser. Holy cow. Okay, so this is very interesting. So this means that letter case matters. Wait, does letter case matters always? Okay, I don't remember I looked into that issue, whether letter case matters in entity. in HTML entities. But apparently, let's show in Safari. Let's see if it's the same behavior. Okay, so looks like it's so letter case matters. Okay, now let's do another thing. Let's go back to the JSON. Okay, now let's look at the source code. Command U. Let's look at the source code. Copy everything. Copy. Back to Emacs. Open a new buffer. Paste. Search for LT semicolon. Okay, never mind. Because what I'm trying to show you is this. Let me see if I can reproduce it. So let's copy the URL for the spec of entities. So let's go to Chrome, paste it, enter. This is Brave. This is a Chrome browser. Okay, so HTML, and it's a huge document. Still loading. Yeah, it's still loading. Yeah, this is taking too long. So basically, the problem I had is that when I click that JSON link, as a JSON file, I open it, and the file name, ends in .json, so it's not HTML. But however, when I copy and paste to Emacs, I noticed that some of the LT, some of them becomes less than sign, instead of the entities. So I think that's a bug in browser, because these days browser, when you open a file, sometimes it tries to pretend it's a HTML file. Actually, technically, it has to do with how the server is set up, because when you have a file .json or .js or whatever, technically, what format that file is supposed to be does not depends on the file name suffix. Does not depends on the file name extension, but rather depends on the server's the media code. The main, the media code. So when a server, it may say .json is supposed to HTML, which is wrong though. It would be incorrect setup. So anyway, here we have the entities. So you go all the way down to the end, to the JSON part. Let's see. Okay, there is a JSON file. Let's open that in Chrome. Now copy that. Copy. Go to Emacs. Open a new buffer. Paste. search for all lines containing lt semicolon. Okay, so so somehow I got the error before. That must be my mistake. But anyways, still there's this interesting part. So in summary, something interesting we found today is that there are a lot more HTML entities in HTML5. This must happen in the past 5 years, I guess, or became popular. So yeah, new entities, then the letter case matters. That's another interesting thing. And also another interesting thing is that apparently this is a mistake. LT without semicolon. It's a mistake by W3C or something. The and Yeah, that's about it for that. Okay, so that is it for today. Uh, oh, the privacy. It's private. That's a mistake. That is why. Shit. Privacy, private. That's a mistake. That's why all my talk shows are in the past 2 days. It's like, oh, it's all hidden. One person watching. Okay, that's it for today. Bye.